Good evening. It's been a moment since I've been here, so I want y'all to just come on in. Just want to say a few things I think that'll be you that are definitely supporters of my ministry. I want to say something tonight because I think that is so that we embrace this word that I'm getting ready to give. It's called accountability. You have to be accountable if you're going to really move forward and be successful in any effort that you put, whether it's in your business, relationship or marriage, whether it's applying yourself in school, um, ministry. You have to be accountable. Now, this is one of the things that I truly believe with all of my heart. And I think some of us fail miserably here because we like to put the blame on everybody else. There's nothing in life that we can put on anyone more than we put on ourselves. Why? Because with accountability, you accept blame and about it. If you're going to be successful, if you're going to move forward, you definitely have to be accountable. Bless you. When you are accountable, you don't make excuses. You own whatever it is that you do. And I think what will certainly help so many of us in all of our endeavors or any of our endeavors is that if we will be accountable, well, you got to be consistent when you're accountable. You not only have to be consistent when you're accountable, you have to be willing to take ownership to those things that are failures, as well as your successes. When you're accountable, you are not easily offended because you understand that everything that occurs, it creates an image. And if there's an individual who sees you in a different light and you're not projecting what it is that you say you are, then accountability says that these are the things that I need to do to straighten up. These are the things that I need to do to be better. And so on the moment of Monday, I think that so many of us um, have not assumed that role and responsibility because we have to be accountable. Success lies in accountability. Think about this. When we were growing up, one of the rules of business that the customer is always right. You remember that statement. And you don't them, you don't come confrontational with them, and yet the society that we live in now is totally opposite of that. You see so many video captures that you conflict between the customer um, and the individual who is producing the business that people are coming to consume. And it's amazing to me um, how our brands are being projected in the hour. I go back to as many years as I've been pastor. One of the greatest challenges and struggles that I've had is sometimes having to assume accountability for somebody else's um, failure and neglecting someone else's um, flaws and energy scales that cause negative reflection on the ministry. And I think when we are accountable, we have to look for like qualities in others to be able to carry out some of the instructions that we give, and not only that, but they too become accountable. Um, and we can't be afraid when we are accountable to acknowledge someone else when they fail, or in fact, when they bring offense, or in fact, when their flaws in character put into question yours. And if we're going to be successful in this hour, you got to start thinking about who you want to have in your circle, because someone can stop your momentum. Believe me, they can stop your flow. The wrong person, the wrong crowd, and listen to this, the wrong advice um, could stunt your growth, could cause you to really have um, a, a major shift in your life that you could classify as a crash. Um, Man, it's important to understand this. They say what go up must come down. What's important is how you land. Because in this life, in business, in this life, in this life, in relationships, there are going to be ups and there's going to be downs. The importance is how you land and when you land. You land um, on your feet, and if you fall on your back, will you be accountable and get back up? I learned from this. The lessons are learned uh, in twofold, whether it's a cost or it's taught. And of course, we have simply um, pay for the mistakes that we made. We have to pay for um, sometimes just the ignorance that we um, projected, and some pay uh, by obedient or hard-headed, stubborn. That's the cost. So when accountable, if you want to move forward, if you want to be successful, you got to give an account to all of those things that you do and say. Um, Man, it's amazing how 20 has taught us that there are many out there that hold vital positions in this world, in this country, that they're not really being accountable. We're not being really taught um, how to successfully transition, um, even in our defeats. Sometimes we got to give an account that our foolishness causes us to lose. Um, Sometimes our foolishness drives people away that have been around. Sometimes our stubbornness does it. Sometimes our ignorance. Sometimes when you are accountable, you're not afraid to allow people to really bring you back to earth by checking you when you are out of order, or checking you when you don't represent who you say you are. And this is, I believe, one of the greatest falters that a lot of leaders have and a lot of business owners, is because um, they are selfish and not selfless. When someone really loves you, they'll hold you accountable. I use it as an example. Me as a, I try to make sure that my kids are with their actions. And when they're wrong, I check them, but they're doing it in love. See, this is the thing. It's amazing how we classify our actions with what we has defined as energy. And so we say, if you give me good energy, I'll give it back to you. Well, guess what? Sometimes our harshest critics give it to us in love, and we can't accept it. But then there are times when we have absolutely no other choice but to get it from someone who is criticizing us, not critiquing us, but criticizing us. And then we, because we always want to look good in the eyes of individuals who we are looking for acceptance. And we don't always take into account that God sometimes put people in our lives that knows how to say what we need to say and when to say it. Accountability does not come into question. Remember this, the way that we become accountable indicates the type of character that we have. You know, if you shift the blame on everybody else, I use this in, here in America right now. We have a president-elect and a president that is in office. He lost the election, but he's blaming everybody else for his loss and not taking into consideration that he wasn't accountable when it came down to the COVID-19, that he was not accountable when it came down to the way that you treat people, the way that you talk to the reporters, the way you handle your staff, um, when you go to your events, the way you handled the country. Wasn't accountable. Couldn't accept the fact that people got tired of his administration, the way that he conducted himself. And so he's not being accountable. He won't concede. But that's not a great teachable moment to this generation, but you're telling them that you can't have to accept the obvious. Um, and so that says that if the president isn't accountable, then we don't have to be. My mother used to always tell me that when you go to school, your accountability is to make sure that you go to school to learn. Um, and if by any chance you bring home anything less than what I sent you to school for, you got to give an account to that. And you need to be accountable at the fact that you took the same test that every person took. You sat in the same class that everyone else. You had the same instructor that everyone else has. You had opportunity to take notes just like everybody else. But when you are not accountable, and when you don't do what you're supposed to do, you'll get a failing grade. And so I say this um, in reflection. Accountability. A lot of us don't like to do it. A lot of us don't like to own up to it. A lot of us would prefer someone else take the blame when we fail, but we want the credit when we succeed. Accountability is not about failure. It's about success. It's about accepting the good, the bad, and the ugly and make adjustments so you won't have to visit that again. Um, so on this moment of Monday, if you really are going to thrive, if you're going to be successful, you definitely have to be accountable. Um, don't miss your moment. When you find your momentum, you got to unwind it. When you find your grind, baby, all you know is that you can move forward and be whatever you want to be. Life brings about consequences. 2020 taught me so many things. I finally have gotten to the place to understand that time is precious. Um, time is so precious. Um, you don't know when your time may be up. And so you got to work every moment that God has granted you to have. Um, and know this, every day is not going to be peaches and cream. It isn't. But when you're accountable, you'll say, I'll own it and I'll live to be better. Because if you do the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same results. And you keep on blaming the same people, you won't have anyone else to blame. You'll be the only one left in your circle. And the reality is, numbers don't lie. Your success, it'll draw people that will support you. It'll draw people that will come in and critique you. It'll draw people to love you. It'll draw people to accept you. It'll draw people to push you. But man, what it does, it will draw people that will be able to learn from all that it is that you have to offer. So I guess I'm just motivated right now to be the best me. Um, whether I be a minister or businessman or husband or father or friend, I just want to have the best me to present to anyone and be accountable for it. This is one of my closest friends. And I want to tell you, the challenge was having to be accountable to go see him in a convalescent home when, in all of my beliefs, I wish he would have been in a facility where he could rehabilitate. But he never talked again. But I remember his smile. I remember his laugh. I remember how he looked at me when I entered into the room. And even having to fight tears back. Sometimes go to the bathroom and cry and come back and try to put on a face. So I knew this. Needed from me ability was someone that would bring a light to them. Hear this real good. When you are accountable, you don't turn on and off your light. Uh, if you are a light to people, that's what you have to be at all times. Now, mind you, every light bulb has to be changed, but connected. You have to stay connected in this way, understanding and knowing that I have something that the individuals who I'm coming into contact with need. You know, it's easy to be depressed. When you really embrace depression, you're not really accepting the accountability of the light that you have on the inside of you. The Apostle Paul says, I think myself happy. That's what he said before King Agrippa. And after he had finished speaking, Agrippa said, you almost persuaded me to be a Christian. Almost wasn't good enough. It wasn't that Paul failed in his attempt to present the gospel. It wasn't that Paul failed in his attempt to convince King Agrippa about his state of being, his mentality and vitality, his faith, his position, and all of his acquisitions. Agrippa wasn't accountable at accepting what was given to him and presented. You almost did. It's amazing how arrogance, ignorance together causes to miss out on life. Say that arrogance and ignorance combined together miss out on opportunity. See, a person that is arrogant, a person that is ignorant, they assume absolutely no accountability. And so they end up missing out on the most important in life, and that is success. Paul said, I would that you prosper and be in good health as thy soul prospers. It's amazing how those facets that are before us puts us in a place to where we miss the moment. And we're not really mental enough to accept the fact I dropped the ball. Yeah. You know, the older I get, the more accountable I become. Yeah, when I make mistakes now, I'll say, okay, I did. I messed up because, you know, it's so easy to reject the notion that it's your fault and place the blame on somebody else. Hey, there's some things that you just can't deny. You have to accept the fact I messed up. I did. I did it. No one did it. I can't blame the devil. I did it. But I'm going to tell you something. And I feel so strong about what's getting ready to happen. This COVID has taught me a lot of things. It taught me the importance of the relevancy of who and what I am. And, you know, a building does not define the ministry that I have to offer. Now, I'm beyond that. I can't be silent with the voice that I have. I understand the mission and the concept of it. And my accountability is to be consistent. It's to not allow any distractions to stop me from being who God called me to be and to do what God has called me to do. And I say that for you too. And great things are getting ready to happen for you. Just be accountable. Use your time wisely. Make great investments so you can get this. And most importantly, be the best you. Someone out there is dependent on what you have to offer. So be accountable. Wake up the giant that's inside of you that's been sleeping. Find your momentum. Unwind it. Find your grind. Unwind it and transition. This is your moment. This is mine too. Been a minute since I've done this. Got to do it. And I look forward to it because now I found my momentum. Man, love y'all. We'll meet again.